Hello and welcome to another edition of CSBJ Radio. I am your host, Greg Wilson, the owner and publisher of Connection Small Business Journal. You can find us online at www.connectmybusiness.me. Again, www.connectmybusiness.me. If you're on social media, which you should be, follow us. Simply type in at Connect My Biz, the at symbol, Connect My Biz, B-I-Z-Z. And yes, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Snapchat, all of the major social media platforms. Connection Small Business Journal utilizes those to some larger or lesser degree. Today, and before, let me digress just for a moment. The traditional podcasts that we do are informative at best. We've done interviews with small business owners, interviews with young entrepreneurs. We have just even this coming week a couple major announcements here on CSBJ Radio. But, today I want to talk specifically about something that just really is hitting me close to home. And that is that your vision is not enough. As a matter of fact, the title of this podcast today is just that your vision is not enough. If I were to take a trip down memory lane, I can recall legal pads full of notes where I was literally writing out my vision. Put a peg in that because we're going to come back to that particular point. I can recall having conversations with individuals that were close to me, individuals that were not that close to me, individuals that were in my particular community or circle of influence, I should say. But let me tell you, your vision in of itself is not enough. Their view of your vision is not enough. And as an entrepreneur, we've all faced moments of doubt. We face moments of just sheer terror. We faced moments of, being just uncertain about the direction that you're going in. As an entrepreneur, we have experienced sleepless nights. I'm here to let you know that your vision is not enough. There are some things that we have to keep in mind as we walk this road of entrepreneurship, as we walk this road of being a small business owner, as we walk this road of developing and starting a startup company. A couple things I want to talk about. Again, your vision, and all of this is under the auspices of your vision is not enough. One thing I want to make sure that we are doing, I mentioned it earlier, how many of us have actually taken the vision that we dream about, the vision that we talk about, the vision that we think about all the time? How many of us have taken that vision and put pen to paper and actually wrote out, drew out, whatever, doodled out your vision? Your vision in of itself is not enough. So one thing, once we take it out of our head, if you will, and place it on paper, it becomes real. And definitely if you begin to do some things, as I would label even maybe the first step or the first domino or the first punch or the first jab or whatever, the first step into this new direction, one of the very first things that you can do is to write down the vision. And again, I don't mean to be preachy in this particular podcast or any podcast for that matter, but I can recall a scripture that basically states to write the vision, make it plain. So take the vision that you're thinking about, take the vision that you're dreaming about, take the vision that you spend a lot of time talking about, get that vision out of your head, put pen to paper, and begin to write that thing down. But once you take that first step, there again, as I mentioned earlier, there are going to be some days of doubt. There are going to be some days of terror. There are going to be some sleepless nights. What do we do to sustain the vision? Because the vision, just packaged as a vision, is quite simply, it's not enough. The vision in of itself won't produce the money. The vision in of itself won't necessarily produce the level of influence that you are going after. The vision in of itself again, won't pay the bills. So what are we going to do to ensure that we understand that the vision in of itself is not enough? And one of the very first things that I had to do, and that you will have to do as an entrepreneur, those moments when you're lonely, those moments when no one else is around, those moments when people that are in your circle of influence, maybe those individuals who supported you at the outset, don't see progress, they don't see your vision anymore, they don't necessarily see or understand the steps that you're taking, to achieve those things. One of the things that I have found out, and probably, maybe some of it is just my own personal makeup as a man. I've been labeled stubborn. I can recall growing up as a teenager, or actually before a teenager, and my mother would say, Gregory, you're just so stubborn. You're just so set in your ways. I'm glad about that, because as an entrepreneur, one of the very first things that we need, since again, the vision is not enough, one of the very first things that we need is going to be perseverance. You have to fuel your vision with perseverance. As we put gas in our cars, or we have an electric car and we charge that electric car, we are fueling that vehicle with something to keep it going. And as an entrepreneur, one of the things, the very first things that you need is to fuel your vision, fuel your dream, fuel your aspirations with perseverance. So when the dark days come, and they will, when you feel absolutely alone, and you will, when you don't see your way out of a particular situation, and you will, fuel your vision with perseverance. What goes hand in hand with a vision, again, is going to be that perseverance that you're going to need. You're going to need that thing to keep yourself going. When things get or begin to be challenging, you're going to have to recommit, or should I say commit and recommit yourself to moving forward. Even when you don't see how, even when you don't see a door, even when you don't see a way, you are, as an individual, as an entrepreneur, you are going to have to fuel your vision with perseverance. When people say you can't, I did a post, I believe it was yesterday on Instagram, tell me I can't. And as soon as you tell me I can't, what you really need to do is sit your little self down and watch me do. Tell me I can't, then take a seat and watch me perform that very same thing that you stated that I could not do. That's not arrogance. It's perseverance. Believing in oneself. You're going to need that as an entrepreneur, because your vision in of itself, the vision packaged as a vision, quite simply, is not enough. How many of us have plans? If you've made the unfortunate decision, as I did, even as a budding or a new entrepreneur, I started my very first company with absolutely no market research, and I'm not bragging about this. I say it because I want other small business owners or other entrepreneurs not to make the same mistakes that Greg Wilson made. So literally, I started a company. I started a full-fledged retail location selling mobile phones. Wilson Communications was the name of it. Selling these mobile phones, selling accessories, allowing people to come into the store and pay their utility bills. All these different things that people were allowed to do in my store. And guess what? I didn't have a plan. There was not a market research done. There was not a market analysis done. There wasn't a SWOT analysis done. Absolutely not. Business. Oh my God, a business plan? Really? I jumped out on what I labeled as faith, F-A-I-T-H. And quite honestly, the jump that I made was a different F. It was fate, F-A-T-E. There's a difference between faith and fate. No business plan, no marketing plan, no strategy whatsoever. All I had was sheer gut and perseverance, even at the time. Once I ran out of the 401k that I used to open or to financially open the business, then the business tanked. But my point is, how many of us who have a vision, because again, the title of this is that your vision is not enough. How many of us actually have a plan? We have written this thing down. I know earlier we talked about writing down the vision, but once you write down the vision, you then need to flip the page, if you will, and begin to make a plan of action, a plan of how to accomplish the vision that you just laid out on the other page. You're going to need a few sets of plans because plans change. Situations and circumstances will hit your business, hit your mission statement, hit your vision. Life happens. At those times, what do? If we're so hard-nosed that we are unable to make changes, the business will suffer. The dream that you have, the vision that you have will suffer. Why? Because you're hard-nosed. You have a plan, yes, but you're stuck to that plan. How many of us take advice from other small business owners? How many of us take advice from a business coach or a business consultant, someone who has actually walked that line before and could tell you, hey, avoid this pitfall, avoid that pitfall? How many of us do that? Or are we so hard-nosed that, you know what, this is my plan, my way, and I don't care what people say, I'm going to stick to it? Then, my friend, your business will suffer as a direct result of that. So yes, we have plans, but my encouragement for you today is to be flexible in those plans. Be able to adjust the plan on the fly. You know, I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, not that far on the west side of Birmingham, Alabama, I should say. And there was a gentleman, Mr. Spivey. I remember Mr. Spivey. My parents would take me to Mr. Spivey's store sometimes. And as a child, I used to love going into Mr. Spivey's store. He was a small business owner on the west side of Birmingham. And inside of his store, he sold like model airplanes and remote control airplanes and rockets and all these different things that a young boy at my age loved. Candy and all sorts of things. A few years later, the first Walmart hit Birmingham. And again, this was early. I mean, I was a little child then. Mr. Spivey's store, which sold toys, took a hit. Why? Because a larger big box company hit the market and dealt a devastating blow to his business. Why am I mentioning Mr. Spivey? Mr. Spivey had a plan. Mr. Spivey was able to sustain his business for years, decades, in this one corner lot of a store with mediocre parking. But you know what? People kept coming to his store. Why? Because he had the good stuff that kids liked. But his business was not able to sustain. Why? Because things happen. Life happens. Life is going to happen for your business. Your business could take a direct hit from another big box company like Amazon. But what are we doing with our plans to indicate and to show that we are flexible in them? So that's why I'm bringing up Mr. Spivey. Why? Because, again, our plans can be affected by the market. Our plans can be affected by change in the market, climate change. And I'm not referencing, the global warming climate. No, I'm talking about the climate of your business. You know, there's another company in Birmingham who was, this gentleman owned a typewriter repair shop. Let me repeat. He owned a typewriter repair shop, meaning that when your typewriter went on the fritz, maybe the P key stopped producing P's on the paper, you would take your typewriter to this gentleman's shop, place it in there for a day or so, and he would repair the typewriter. Why am I bringing up him? Because the climate changed. We went from typewriters to keyboards to computers. His business failed. Why? Because there was no flexibility.